Hello and welcome to the first ConnectShip iShip Reach webinar of the year. Thank you for joining us today to learn more about GAP, the Endicia Global Advantage Program that's designed to simplify international shipping. We're featuring GAP today because it's available now to partners and customers of ConnectShip iShip, and because we have a guest speaker to discuss the future of international shipping. Shea Felix is the Senior Global Product Marketing Manager for Endicia. In this role, he works with importers to bring shipments into the U.S., leveraging the U.S. Postal Service. Shea began his career with Endicia in 2013, executing the global product roadmap, including creating the 5-year plan to address cross-border trade. As a former Director of Global Business Solution for the USPS, Shea was in charge of Foreign Postal Affairs and International Product Development. Shea graduated San Jose State University with a Bachelor of Science in International Business, and you can follow him on the Endicia blog, The Savvy Shipper. So please join me in welcoming Shea Felix.
Hi, this is Shea Felix with Endicia. Today I'm going to talk about the Global Advantage Program. In terms of things we're going to cover today, first I'm going to do an introduction on cross-border as a whole. And then I'm going to give you an introduction to the Global Advantage Program and then go into some of the features and details for the program itself. But first, let's talk a little bit about cross-border. As many of you know, the cross-border market is a very lucrative market for domestic shippers. A lot of domestic shippers start shipping in the US and then eventually they look to expand in other markets. A lot of shippers know that they could quickly increase their revenue, especially their per-piece revenue, in getting to other foreign markets. But what a lot of shippers don't know in the US is how the growth has really exploded into other foreign markets. When you look at the domestic market for the US, the growth has been great. But when you look at the domestic buyer market, and what this slide represents is a growth of buyers across the world and the percentage they're growing. And in those buyer markets, you're seeing substantial growth. What this means for the US is if you're looking for ways to grow your business, you're going to find that the American goods are highly accepted and desired by these foreign markets, and they're a great place to grow because the growth is even growing faster than the US domestic market. Now, if we look specifically at the things that people buy, so if we look at it based on category, a lot of things that people buy are apparel-based. About 30 to 40% of the things that people buy from the US are clothing, footwear, and apparel, followed by consumer electronics. And if you look at the average weight of things that people buy, it's generally items under 4 pounds. About 87% of the products that people buy are under 4 pounds. And if we look at the product value, and you would assume that most of the goods going international based on the shipping cost would be high value goods, but you still get a lot of low value goods going cross border. Almost half of all the things that ship cross border are still under $25. So the reason why I talk about these is really just to talk about USPS. So as we walk through GAP today, what we're going to do is talk a little bit about the foundation of the products we use, which are based on the Postal Service. A lot of people don't always associate the Postal Service for international compared to, say, like a FedEx or UPS. But as I showed you in the previous screens, those categories of things that people buy into from US markets fits really well into the product portfolio for USPS. So if you look at the USPS strengths, one of the big strengths is really in B2C, on the C end, it's the residents. Most of the postal network where things get shipped out to and delivered to residents, to buyers around the world, are delivered by the postal operators, who is used by USPS for delivery. So they're very good at getting packages for B2C delivered. And then as you look at how the packages work in terms of weight and size, Postal Service is always going to be very competitive for things that are under 4 pounds, especially things under a couple pounds, and that are typically low value goods. So when we talk about that profile of what buyers are looking for from the US market, USPS actually has a really good product. The last piece of this is simplification. So USPS is a good entry spot for people that are just looking to grow in international. The documentation is a little easier to use. The clearance process is a little less complicated. So for people to get started international, USPS is a great place to start. They may not be known for their international like they are on the domestic side, but it's a very good place to start. Now, with that said, there are complications in international. International is not as easy as shipping domestic. When you look at the domestic products, you take for granted things like tracking. Rarely do you see things that are delivered without a tracking event. But internationally, you have to pay attention to which service to use and know that in certain markets, those delivery confirmation rates are going to change a little bit. So visibility and proof of delivery are all things that you have to kind of keep your eye on depending on the market that you're shipping to. The other side of it is speed. Now we're getting used to things that are delivered within a couple of days in the US market. But when you ship things internationally, they go a little bit longer. You could have things that go from 7 days to 10 days, sometimes 2 weeks, depending on the market you're shipping to. And so when you're managing customer expectations, you have to understand that the delivery cycle is going to mean that your customer service calls are going to probably go up a little bit. The last piece of this is the documentation. So with documentation, you don't have to do on the domestic side. You have to account for that on the international side. Additional data to fill out the customs forms, documents to print out, making sure everything's accurate, making sure you understand which goods are allowed in each market. So there is a little bit of research that needs to be done if you're going to be going cross-border. Of course, if I go back to the opportunities, it's a great place to grow because when you're looking for new ways to grow and you've seen the growth in other markets, international is a great place to be. So let's transition over to GAP for a second. So the Global Advantage Program is something that we created to inject more value into the Postal Service and what they offer today on their international services. But I do want to say, when you look at USPS as a whole and the products that we're going to talk through, what we're not doing is fixing things in customs, or we're not changing the logistics flow of how goods get delivered in markets worldwide. The logistics that are offered today will be the same logistics once USPS receives it as we offer with this product. Instead, what we're going to talk about are the things that we can do as a technology provider to add more value than what you're getting today. We felt like with the USPS products, although they fit a nice sweet spot for what customers want, we felt like it needed a little injection of other value to have people feel good about these services and continue to ship with them. So as we walk through these features, the overall value of the program, keep in mind, this is solely focused on the things that we can add on our end as a technology provider. So let's talk a little bit about how GAP works. So GAP is the act of printing a domestic label instead of an international label. That's the first thing to understand. So today, when you ship with USPS, you're printing a customs form with a shipping label with postage, typically known as a CN22 or CP72. But we're not going to do that. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to print a domestic label. Now, we're still going to need the data. So all the data that you collect to fulfill an international order, like the description and the weight and the value and so on, we still need to collect that. But instead of an international label printing out, we'll be printing a domestic label. You're going to hand that domestic label to your postal carrier like you do today, whether you're using carrier pickup or they're picking up from your location, or whether you're dropping off at a post office. You're going to treat this just like you would any other domestic shipment. That shipment will be dynamically routed to one of our 3 hubs, either Los Angeles, Chicago, or New York. We pick those hubs based on your location and what is the fastest way to get it from your location to our hub. Once that package comes into our hub, we scan in each package, we overlabel it with the necessary documentation, and then we hand it back to USPS into their International Service Center, deep in a way that allows for them to expedite your packages over the things that typically come in as a single piece shipment directly from USPS. Those shipments are then handed over to the foreign post and delivered as they are today. So when you look at how GAP works today, really the main difference originates with a different label printing out and the fact that we have a consolidation center to take in your package, overlabel, and hand back to USPS. Now, speaking of the label, let's talk about the label a little bit and what those changes are. So first thing you see is it looks like a domestic label, as it is a domestic label. And so for this example, you see that we have a postal facility name, which is where you're going to be shipping to, right? This is our processing center. At the bottom of the label, you see all the international order information that we take from your international data. So we do use the domestic service and we do use the domestic barcode. So if we look at the barcode in the middle, the IMPB that begins with a 9, what we're able to do is take the tracking events from this domestic label and stitch it to the international tracking number. So if you look at the number at the bottom, the UM 901 and ends in US, that is your international tracking number that you use today. So that process won't change at all. The only thing that will be different is we're going to take the tracking events from the domestic label and the domestic service and add it to the international number. So your customers and you see this as any normal international order. So even though we're using a domestic service in combination with an international service, it all will look like and feel like one international service to you and your customer. So that was an overview of the program at a high level, but let's talk about the most important parts of GAP, which are the features. So here's a short list of the features that we've added already. And now keep in mind, our goal with GAP is to continue to add more features and more value-added services to this program. One thing I do want to add as we walk through this, and something to keep in mind, is the rates that you pay today are the same rates that you pay for GAP. So if you're paying commercial base or commercial plus, or let's say you have a negotiated service agreement with USPS with very low rates, whatever you pay today to USPS for First Class International, Priority Mail International, Priority Mail Express International will all be the same rates you pay for our service. Because essentially you're using the same postal services, but what we're going to do and show you are additional features and benefits that we add at no cost to you. Okay, so here's a short list, but what I'm going to do is actually walk through each one of them so you get an idea of the value we're bringing in with GAP. So customs forms. So no one likes handling customs forms and printing them out, and it can be highly disruptive if you have a domestic operation that now has to deal with the complexity of printing out multiple copies of customs forms. A lot of people have to take it off to the side, have it manually done, and apply to the packages. So instead of doing that, we're telling you, you do not have to print a customs form. As I showed you earlier, you print a domestic label, and when the label comes into our facility, we'll scan and overlabel with the appropriate documentation. Everything is linked and stitched together to assume no disruption or errors. And on your side, you get the convenience of doing what you do today, probably for the majority of your shipments, which is do and print a domestic label. The other thing that we've added is a free upgrade. So through our negotiated rates on our consolidation, we've identified certain spots where we have rates that are so close to PMI that we're going to give you a free upgrade. So in this little bar chart to the right, you see examples of weights and country groupings where, depending on your shipment's weight and where it's shipping to, we're going to give you a free upgrade to PMEI. PMEI is the express service for USPS. So when you look at express, which is typically a 3 to 5 day service, compared to PMI, which is a 6 to 10 day service, you can see a much quicker delivery of your products at no additional cost. The other thing we've added is free global address verification. Now, for those of you that ship domestically, it may not seem like a big deal because you may take for granted the fact that when you ship things out today, all the addresses are standardized. But keep in mind, the US system of address standardization is not the same worldwide. Each market has their own way of doing things, and the global address verification software is very expensive and not typically available to most businesses. But due to this program, the cost savings from this program, we're able to buy this software and give it to you free of charge. And this is a huge benefit because it'll allow you not just to standardize your address and reduce missed deliveries or undeliverables to your locations. It also could be used as a form of fraud control. So with this, you can see if the customer's address they gave you is actually accurate before you even ship the good, which is a huge savings advantage for you. The next piece is probably one of the biggest things that we offer in this that's not offered today by USPS. So today, the USPS does not offer free insurance for its first class international packages. So not only are we offering free insurance up to $100 for each package, we even include cost of postage coverage. So if there's an issue with your package, not only will we refund you up to $100 in the value of the goods, we'll even give you back your postage. And even better, if there's an issue along the way with anything you have with the GAP program, even if it's not through the insurance piece of it, you can call us directly. So all your claims, all your inquiries, all your questions about international through GAP now get redirected through our dedicated group to support GAP. No more working with USPS, no waiting for long filing of claims. You can work with us directly where we feel very comfortable that you're going to enjoy our customer service through this program. The next piece is auto refunds. So today with PC Postage, the majority of our customers, if they have an issue like a misprint or something where they couldn't mail out the package, they have to wait for a refund. But with this program, we know immediately. And if there's an issue, you don't have to wait for your refund. We do it automatically. One, again, the small advantages we add to this program. The next one is FCMI flats merchandise. Now, some of you that don't typically ship a lot of flats may not be aware of the rule change that happened in January 2018. So in January 2018, USPS made a ruling to their first-class mail international flats that you cannot ship them with goods. And what this means is if you're an e-commerce vendor and you're shipping something as an FCMI flat, you no longer can use that service, and you have to upgrade all your packages to the package-based service, even though the item that you're sending does not need to be packaged as a package. So for those of you who ship very small things, let's say you're shipping a Pokemon trading card, right? Well, no longer do you have to bulk up that trading card to meet the classifications of first-class package. You can actually continue to ship that item as you would today as a flat. This is something only offered by Stamps.com and Endicia, and you can do that by checking the goods box, and we give that service automatically to you. And this is only, like I said, exclusively offered through our GAP program for Endicia Stamps.com. The final thing I'm going to talk about today is free end-of-day pickup. For some of the larger shippers that use USPS today, the feedback we receive is they have a difficult time marrying up with the USPS pickup process. Today, USPS will typically pick up packages when they drop off mail, and the delivery time, when the drop-off time in coordination with the pickup time is not always consistent. So if you have a huge operation and you're trying to figure out how to close out your operation to get packages ready for USPS, at times it can be very hard to predict that. The second thing is a lot of shippers want to do an end-of-the-day closeout. The end-of-the-day closeout allows them during the peak of the day pull in more packages and close more orders during the day and get them out same day. If the post office comes in around 11 a.m., then you have the whole rest of the day packages. We'll have to wait a whole nother day to get out and be delivered. So with our pickup program, our free end-of-day pickup program, not only do we work with you to schedule the right time for you to pick up, which could be end of day, we also give you a very tight window of up to an hour to pick up, allowing you to standardize and optimize your operational process for your pickups. The last part of this, which is actually really nice, is when we do a direct pickup in one of our areas of LA, Chicago, and New York, we take it directly from your location to the hub. We bypass all the USPS processing that sits in between. So all the packages that we pick are expedited compared to making its way through the entire delivery network to get to the International Service Center at USPS. So in summary, the few things I want to leave you guys with is GAP is a new program for us, but it's not new in the way it uses USPS. USPS is still the delivery provider. They're still the one taking the packages through customs. What we've done instead is we found a way to use our technology and use our leverage through our consolidation program to bring more value to you as our customers. We feel very confident that not only will we add this value today, but during the course of the year, we have a whole list of other things we're working on to bring even more value to you. We're very excited about the program and looking to onboard customers immediately. If you have any questions about the program, if you have any questions about setting up a pickup or any of that nature, you can reach out to our pre-sales team at GAP. It's gappresales@endicia.com.
Shea, we already have our first question. The first question is, what changes to the label request do I need to make in order to get this service?
Sure. Once you're approved and activated for the GAP program, there are no changes to the labels. The same call that you make today will pull the new label, so there are absolutely no changes that need to be made.
Okay, how do we activate this for a ConnectShip customer?
So when you have a customer that's interested in activating, you're just going to shoot an email to gappresales@endicia.com, and they'll walk you through the activation process.
Okay. So the free upgrade to PMEI, do we get a PMEI tracking number?
You do. When you're upgraded, we'll send you a new tracking number for the express mail barcode, and that will be what you use for the final delivery of the package.
Okay. When does the ConnectShip user that has GAP enabled, they simply give the parcels to USPS versus ordering pickups from Endicia?
Yeah, so what you're going to do is you're going to do what you're doing today. When you print a domestic label, it's a USPS domestic label. So if you're driving them to the post office, you can do the same thing you're doing today. If you're using carrier pickup, you could do that. If you have an arranged schedule for pickup, you could do this well. Because you're printing nothing but domestic USPS labels, it's just like any other domestic shipment and how you do that today and hand that to USPS.
Okay, great. Next question. If a ConnectShip user is one of your pickup areas, do they have to order pickups from you? And what's the benefits of doing so?
Right. So they do need to go through us. So again, I would use the Gap pre-sales at Endicia.com when you're interested in getting a pickup set up. You're going to use our pickup network because what we do is we take those pickups directly from you to our facility. And that's really important because when you use our pickup, what we're going to do is work with you to schedule a time that's within your schedule to pick up, say an end of day pickup, or maybe you want an early morning pickup. The other nice thing about using our pickup process is we take it directly from your location to our hub, and we bypass any additional processing that may happen that would slow things down. So not only do you get the convenience of a schedule to pick up that's within your timeline, you also get the benefit of faster service into our hub, which means ultimately your package will be delivered faster.
Okay, well, that is the last of our questions. We want to thank you, Shea, for being our speaker today and educating us on the Endicia Global Advantage Program. Attendees, thank you for joining the first ConnectShip iShip Reach webinar of 2018. Please be on the lookout for our next Reach webinar that'll be coming soon. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.